The galaxy was a vast and untouchable expanse, where countless civilizations lived, each ruled by their own powerful empires. One empire stood above them all, a force so mighty that no one dared challenge its reign. The Galactic Empire. Their ships were enormous, their weapons devastating, and their soldiers were feared across the stars. Yet the Empire had one weakness, one blind spot they had overlooked for centuries: Earth. For years, humanity had been content with its small corner of the galaxy, focused on their own struggles, their own battles. They were not part of the galactic politics, not a player in the grand war games of the universe. But that was about to change. The Galactic Empire had learned of Earth, and they had decided that it was time to bring humanity under their control. On a cold, dark morning, the warning came. The Empire's fleet was approaching, a fleet that stretched across the sky, with ships so large that they blocked out the stars. Their purpose was clear: to dominate Earth, to force humanity into submission. The Empire had already conquered countless worlds, and Earth would be no different. Across the world, nations scrambled to prepare. There was no time for hesitation. Humanity had always been divided by borders, politics, and wars, but in that moment, all those differences vanished. The planet was united under one banner: survival. The moment the Empire had set its sights on Earth, they had unwittingly awakened the true power of humanity. Military leaders, scientists, and engineers all came together to devise a plan. They knew that they could never match the Empire's strength in sheer numbers or firepower, but they had something the Empire didn't: their creativity, their will to fight, and their unity. Earth had never seen such collaboration before, and it was a sign of things to come. At the heart of Earth's defense stood the Terra Dominus, a massive warship unlike any other. Built in secret for years, it was the flagship of humanity's fleet, a symbol of Earth's determination to survive. The ship was equipped with technologies that no one in the galaxy had ever seen, technologies that could potentially shift the balance of power in the universe. But the Terra Dominus wasn't ready. The fleet was not prepared for an all-out assault from the Empire. The entire Earth fleet had only just begun to assemble, and its forces were scattered across different planets and space stations. The challenge ahead seemed impossible, but the humans had one advantage: their unyielding spirit. In the vast command center of the Terra Dominus, Admiral Grace Williams stood before a giant holographic display, showing the approaching fleet of the Galactic Empire. Her mind raced. The fleet was moving quickly, and they would reach Earth in just a few hours. Every second counted. "We don't have time to waste," Admiral Williams said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "Prepare our fleet for battle." Her orders were swift and clear. Ships began to mobilize. Pilots were sent to their vessels, and the ground forces began readying themselves. There was no turning back now. The humans had to face the Empire head-on, or face annihilation. But as the Empire's fleet neared, something unexpected happened. Earth's fleet, with its newly developed weapons and strategies, was not as helpless as the Empire had thought. The Empire had assumed that humans would be easy to conquer, that their technology would be outdated, their tactics primitive. But as they crossed the threshold of Earth's atmosphere, they encountered a power they had never expected. The Terra Dominus activated its shields, an energy barrier so powerful that it seemed to shimmer in space, creating an impenetrable wall around the ship. The Empire's advanced weapons, designed to destroy entire planets, simply bounced off the shields without leaving a mark. For the first time, the Empire's forces hesitated. "Impossible," a voice crackled over the Empire's communication channels. It was General Varak, the commander of the Imperial fleet. His eyes narrowed as he watched his weapons fail to penetrate the shields. "How can this be? The humans should have no chance against us." The Empire's fleets regrouped, readying themselves for a second strike. They had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price. On Earth, every eye was on the sky. People watched from the streets, the rooftops, the windows of their homes, as the battle between Earth's fleet and the Empire began. The stars, once just distant lights in the sky, had now become the stage for humanity's greatest trial. The entire planet held its breath, knowing that this was a fight for their future. Admiral Williams stood at the helm of the Terra Dominus, watching as the Empire's ships circled around them, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Hold steady," she said to her crew. "We're not backing down. Not today." Earth's response had begun. The challenge had been thrown down, and now the galaxy would see just what humanity was capable of. The Empire had no idea what they were about to face. Humanity's fury had been unleashed. As the ships of the Galactic Empire hovered in the cold expanse of space, they prepared to strike. The massive Imperial fleet, with its overwhelming firepower, was ready to obliterate any resistance. Yet they had vastly underestimated the determination and resourcefulness of humankind. Their arrogance clouded their judgment, and that would be their downfall. General Varric, the commander of the Imperial fleet, stood at the helm of his flagship, the Dominion, watching as the humans assembled their defenses. He had seen countless worlds fall before the Empire's might, and he expected Earth to be no different. His fleet was equipped with the latest weaponry, energy beams capable of ripping entire fleets apart, and planet-killing missiles that could reduce entire cities to ashes. What chance did Earth stand against such an overwhelming force? "Prepare to engage," Varric ordered, his voice cold and calculating. "One strike, and we will wipe them from existence." His fleet activated their weapons, and the first volley of energy blasts shot towards the Terra Dominus and the rest of Earth's ships. The missiles screamed through the vacuum of space, but when they struck the human ship shields, something strange happened. Instead of the expected explosion and the destruction of Earth's fleet, the missiles simply bounced off the shields, as though they were nothing more than harmless pebbles. A stunned silence filled the Imperial fleet's command center. The Empire's most advanced weapons, used to destroy entire fleets, had no effect. Varric's hands gripped the armrests of his command chair as he stared in disbelief. What is happening?" "General, the human fleet it's using an unknown technology. Their shields, they're absorbing our attacks," one of his officers stammered. Varric's expression darkened as he processed the information. Earth was not supposed to be this strong. Humanity was supposed to be primitive, their technology years behind the Empire's advancements. The Imperial fleet had assumed that it would be an easy conquest, but the humans had just proved that they were far from helpless. Back on Earth, the battle was far from over. In the control rooms aboard the Terra Dominus, Admiral Williams had seen the Empire's attack unfold in real time. She had no illusions about the gravity of the situation. Earth was facing the mightiest military force in the galaxy, and the stakes could not be higher. But she was determined to hold her ground. The shields on the Terra Dominus hummed with power, absorbing the blasts and redirecting energy to strengthen their defense. As the Imperial ships regrouped for another attack, William's mind raced. They needed to do more than just survive. They needed to send a clear message to the Empire. Humanity would not be intimidated. "Prepare the counterattack," Williams commanded. "We may not have their firepower, but we have something they don't. It's time to remind the Empire why they should never have underestimated us." A sudden fierce energy surged through the human fleet as Williams gave the order. The human ships, equipped with newly designed weapons, began to retaliate. Small at first, the attacks were like pinpricks, but they soon grew in intensity. The Terra Dominus fired its newly developed energy cannons, which sent concentrated beams of raw power toward the Empire's ships. The Imperial fleet was forced to retreat, their ships shielding themselves from the onslaught. It wasn't enough to cripple them, but it was enough to show them that the humans were not going to be taken down easily. General Varric watched, his frustration mounting. His fleet had never been forced to retreat in the face of such resistance. His mind was working furiously, trying to understand what the humans had done to gain such power. The information they had gathered from their espionage was incomplete. There had been no record of these advancements, no indication that humanity had anything resembling this level of technology. "Why aren't their ships breaking?" one of Varek's officers asked, his voice shaking with disbelief. "They're using something we don't understand," Varek snapped. "Something we've never seen before. We need to regroup and rethink our strategy." Back on Earth, every city watched in silence as the battle raged in space. Humanity had not only survived the initial attack, it had struck back with a force that no one had anticipated. People from all walks of life, from every nation on Earth, stood together, united in the defense of their home. On the surface, they were still reeling from the shock of the attack, but their collective will had been galvanized. It was clear that this was no ordinary battle. The Empire had made its move, but Earth's response was a resounding statement. Humanity would not go down without a fight. Inside the Terra Dominis, Admiral Williams stood in front of the command center's large windows, staring out into the black abyss of space. The lights of the Imperial fleet flickered in the distance, but they seemed less threatening now. She knew that the fight was just beginning. "Ready the next phase," she said, turning to her officers. "We've shown them that we can fight back, but it's not enough. We need to take this fight to them." Her voice rang with determination. Earth was not just defending itself. It was preparing for an all-out assault, one that would send a clear message to the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they would feel the full force of Earth's wrath. The challenge had been issued, and the Empire had only just begun to realize the power they had awakened. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity in the most profound way. What they thought was going to be an easy conquest had now turned into an all-out war. The first strike had failed, and now the Empire was in disarray. Humanity's ability to fight back, though small compared to the vast Imperial fleet, was proving to be more than enough to make the Empire question its plans. And Earth wasn't finished yet. General Varek paced back and forth in the command center of the Dominion, his mind reeling from the unexpected events. His pride, his belief that the Empire's superior technology would crush Earth, was shattered. But he was not one to back down. There was still power in his fleet, power that could wipe out planets in an instant. Yet this had become a different kind of war. This was no longer just about raw power. This was about strategy, about outwitting humanity at their own game. "Have we gathered enough intelligence on their technology?" Varek asked, his voice cold but laced with desperation. His lead officer nodded. "Yes, General. The humans are using advanced energy shield technology we've never encountered before. Their weapons seem to be adapted from what we've gathered on their ancient military designs, but we've never seen this level of ingenuity." Varek clenched his fists. The humans are resourceful, but they're still outnumbered. If we break their fleet, we'll break their spirit. But Varek knew that it wasn't going to be easy. The humans had turned their supposed weakness into an advantage, and now the galaxy would see the result of their defiance. On Earth, Admiral Williams stood on the bridge of the Terra Dominis, watching the calm of space through the giant observation windows. The stars were a distant reminder of what was at stake. The Imperial fleet had retreated, but the fight was far from over. Humanity's response was only beginning. "We can't just wait for the Empire to strike again," Williams said, her voice steady, despite the tension that hummed through the ship. "We've shown them we can defend ourselves, but now we need to take the fight to them." The bridge crew nodded in agreement. Williams had already ordered the next phase of Earth's counterattack, a full-scale offensive. They were going to teach the Empire that humanity wasn't just a backwater planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. The fleet was ready. The human ships, though smaller than the massive Imperial warships, were faster, more agile, and equipped with the latest technologies Earth had to offer. They were outfitted with the newly developed Stellar Vengeance cannons, powerful enough to pierce through even the toughest of shields. Earth's engineers, working around the clock since the attack began, had adapted their existing weaponry to create a system that could fight back against the Empire's overwhelming might. "We've got the advantage now," Admiral Williams said to her officers. "Their fleet is still reeling from the initial counterstrike. It's time to hit them where it hurts." The order was given, and Earth's ships began their assault. The Imperial fleet, still gathering itself after the shock of the previous battle, struggled to respond. The Terra Dominus led the charge, firing its stellar vengeance cannon, sending waves of destructive energy toward the heart of the Imperial formation. The blast struck one of the Empire's warships, sending it spiraling out of control before it exploded in a brilliant flash. Varric watched the devastation unfold from his flagship. His heart raced. The humans had done it again. They had turned the tables in an instant. The destruction of the warship sent ripples through his fleet. For the first time, there was doubt among his officers. "We need to regroup. Now," Varric barked. "All ships, fall back and create a defensive formation." But it was already too late. The humans weren't stopping. The smaller, faster ships darted in and out of the Imperial fleet, striking with precision, taking down smaller targets, and leaving the larger ships disoriented. The Terra Dominus continued its onslaught, firing at will and taking down ships one by one. The Empire's superior numbers weren't enough to stop Earth's overwhelming determination. Admiral Williams' voice crackled over the comm system, filling the air with a sense of purpose. "We've broken their formation. Now let's finish what we started." On Earth, every major city was tuned in to the battle. People watched in awe as their ships fought valiantly against the might of the Empire. For years, humanity had lived under the shadow of galactic empires, knowing that they were far from the strongest race in the galaxy. But now, Earth was showing its true strength, and the entire galaxy was watching. Back in space, the battle raged on. But the tides had turned. Earth's response was no longer about surviving. It was about claiming victory. With each blast, each maneuver, the humans proved they were not to be underestimated. The Imperial fleet was beginning to break apart, their ships fleeing in disarray, unable to withstand the onslaught any longer. General Varric knew this was no longer a battle for mere survival. It was a battle for the soul of the galaxy. And in this moment, Earth was the one holding the upper hand. "We cannot let them defeat us," Varric muttered to himself. But deep down, he knew that humanity had already proven its strength. The Empire might have vast resources, but Earth had something far more powerful, their will to fight, to defend their world and their people. As the battle continued, Varric could only wonder, had the Galactic Empire made the greatest mistake of its existence, or was it about to be crushed by the very force it had underestimated? The battle in space raged on as the remnants of the Galactic Empire's once proud fleet struggled to maintain any semblance of order. Their ships were battered, disoriented, and retreating, unable to withstand the relentless assault humanity had launched in its defense. But deep within the heart of the Imperial flagship, General Varric refused to concede defeat. "Prepare the Emperor's wrath," he ordered his second-in-command, his voice cold and determined. "If we can't win with our fleet, we'll win with sheer firepower. This war will end today." The Emperor's wrath was the Empire's ultimate weapon, an experimental superweapon capable of obliterating entire fleets with a single shot. It was the last card the Empire had to play, and Varric was willing to bet everything on it. His pride, his honor, and his belief in the Empire's invincibility had all been shattered. But the Emperor's wrath was their last chance. If it worked, the humans would fall. If it failed, the galaxy would know that the Empire had been bested by a race they once saw as inferior. Meanwhile, on Earth, the atmosphere was electric. Humanity had already proven that it could stand toe-to-toe with the might of the Empire. But no one was foolish enough to think the battle was over. The Terra Dominus and the other human ships continued their assault, but each new Imperial maneuver revealed that the Empire wasn't finished yet. Admiral Williams knew the Empire still had tricks up its sleeve. "We need to end this now," Admiral Williams said firmly as she stood on the bridge of the Terra Dominus. "If we don't press the advantage, they'll regroup and strike back harder." Her officers nodded in agreement, eyes locked on their screens, watching the Empire's desperate retreat. But Williams was right. This wasn't just a chance for victory. It was a chance to end the war before more lives were lost. "Send the order to the fleet," Williams continued, her voice steady. "All ships, coordinate fire on the Imperial flagship. We need to stop their superweapon before it's too late." The victorious cheers aboard the human fleet were cut short as the enormity of the situation began to sink in. The immediate threat of the Galactic Empire was over, but the consequences of their victory were far-reaching. Earth's forces had inflicted a blow the Empire would never forget, but they knew they could not afford to let their guard down. In the blink of an eye, the galaxy could shift from a place of relative peace to one of war once more. Admiral Williams stood at the helm of the Terra Dominus, looking out at the wreckage of the Empire's fleet. The calm that followed the chaos was almost surreal. What was once a battlefield, filled with fire and destruction, was now eerily quiet. The stars shimmered brightly, indifferent to the conflict that had just transpired. "We need to assess the damage," she said, breaking the silence that had fallen over the bridge. "Our ships have taken some hits, and we can't afford to be complacent." Her officers immediately got to work, scanning their fleet for any damage that could jeopardize the mission moving forward. The Terra Dominus had sustained some serious damage, but it was nothing that couldn't be repaired in time. Still, the humans weren't foolish enough to think their work was done. They had proven their strength, but they knew the Empire was not one to accept defeat easily. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the war's toll weighed heavily on everyone. While the battle in space had been won, the war was far from over. News of the humans' victory had spread like wildfire across the galaxy, but no one knew how the Empire would respond. Would they retreat into the shadows, regroup, and plan another attack? Or would they come at humanity with everything they had? The UN Assembly convened in an emergency session, with world leaders from every corner of Earth coming together to discuss their next steps. Tension hung in the air like a storm cloud, and each representative knew that the future of the human race now rested on the decisions made in this room. Admiral Williams was summoned to Earth to brief the leaders on the current state of the war. She knew that the Empire might strike again, and that humanity could not afford to sit idly by, waiting for another assault. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began as she addressed the assembly, "we've won a major victory, but we are not out of danger. The Galactic Empire will not simply walk away from this. We need to fortify our defenses, prepare for another attack, and most importantly, make sure we're ready to defend Earth and our allies." Her words were met with a somber silence. No one could deny the reality of the situation. The Empire might be reeling, but it had never been known for backing down after a loss. "We must rally every resource we have," Williams continued. "We've shown them that we are a force to be reckoned with, but we need to show them that this was not a fluke. Our strength, our unity, will decide the fate of humanity in the coming months." The world leaders, once uncertain and divided, were now united in their purpose. Earth had been attacked. Earth had fought back, and Earth would defend itself until the very end. Back in the stars, the remaining Imperial ships were scattered, but they were not entirely without purpose. Far from it. The Galactic Empire, known for its ability to adapt and strategize, was already regrouping. General Varric had failed, but the Empire had powerful resources, and their thirst for conquest wasn't easily quenched. The Empire's leadership would make sure that their defeat was only temporary. They would bide their time and rebuild. On the edges of the Empire's shattered fleet, a new command was issued from the darkened heart of Imperial space, a command to rebuild and reclaim what was lost. "Prepare the Fury-class ships," a voice echoed in the shadows of the Imperial Command Center. "It's time to remind Earth that the Empire's wrath knows no mercy." The message was clear. The fight was far from over. Humanity may have gained the upper hand in this battle, but the war was far from won. Back on Earth, the message of victory was being celebrated, but there was no time for complacency. The humans had one victory under their belt, but they knew that the Empire would return with greater fury. Their victory had shaken the Empire's foundations, but it had also inspired a newfound strength within the human race. On every continent, people took to the streets to celebrate. They knew this was a momentous occasion, one for the history books. But among the celebration was a cold realization. The war was not over. Victory could be fleeting. The true test would come in the form of the Empire's inevitable retaliation. Admiral Williams returned to the fleet, her mind already turning toward the future. The humans would need to stay united. They would need to be vigilant and prepared to meet whatever challenge the Empire threw at them next. In the deep reaches of space, the stars flickered as the Empire's fleet regrouped, waiting for the right moment to strike. It wouldn't be long before the Empire came knocking once more, and Earth would need to be ready for the storm that was sure to follow. For now, however, humanity could take solace in the fact that they had won this battle. They had sent a message to the galaxy. Earth was not to be underestimated. The fight for survival had just begun, and the question was no longer whether humanity would survive. It was how far they would go to ensure their future. As the human fleet sailed toward home, there was no telling what the future held, but one thing was certain: humanity would never back down. The calm that followed humanity's victory was short-lived. Earth's celebrations were already fading into the background when the first signs of the Empire's retaliation appeared. As the humans looked to their future, confident that they had dealt the Empire a crushing blow, the stars whispered a different story. The Empire was never a force to be underestimated, and their thirst for dominance would not be so easily quenched. Admiral Williams stood on the bridge of the Terra Dominus, eyes locked on the blinking lights of the scanner console. They had prepared for a counterattack, but nothing could have prepared them for the sheer scale of the Empire's response. "It's here," Lieutenant Carter said, his voice trembling. "The fleet, it's massive." The Imperial warships appeared out of the folds of space like an unstoppable wave. The sheer size of the fleet was staggering, far beyond anything humanity had faced. Each ship was a testament to the Empire's industrial might and ruthless desire to crush anything that stood in their way. Williams clenched her jaw, her mind racing. The human fleet had been stretched thin after the battle, but they had repaired as much as they could. Yet, the numbers weren't in their favor. The Empire's fleet was twice the size of humanity's, with ships so powerful they could obliterate entire cities with a single blast. "We need reinforcements," Williams ordered, her voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at her. "Send out a distress signal. We need every available ship. Now." Her officers scrambled, contacting allies across the galaxy, but the cold truth remained. Earth was on its own. The Empire had made sure of that. They had isolated humanity from its allies, leaving the humans with no one to turn to but themselves. Back on Earth, the leaders of the world watched in shock as news of the Empire's retaliation spread. The suddenness of it caught them off guard. They had anticipated some form of counterattack, but the scale of the Imperial response was beyond their worst fears. President Wallace addressed the world from a secure bunker, his face grave and resolute. "The Empire is coming, and we have to be ready to face them. This isn't just about defense anymore. It's about survival." He ordered all military personnel to be mobilized and began organizing the global resistance. The Earth was no longer just a single planet. It had become a symbol of defiance in the face of overwhelming power. In space, the battle was beginning. The human fleet moved into formation, their ships aligned in a defensive stance as they awaited the Empire's first strike. Each captain aboard the human vessels knew this would be the fight of their lives. They had already won one battle, but this time, the stakes were far higher. The Empire wasn't playing games anymore. Admiral Williams watched the unfolding chaos on her screens. The first shots were fired, streaks of energy lighting up the vastness of space. Explosions rippled across the dark expanse as the Empire's ships unleashed their devastating weapons. The humans fought back with everything they had, but the reality was hard to ignore. They were outmatched. "Hold the line," Williams shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Don't give them an inch." Her orders were met with determination, but even she couldn't deny the overwhelming odds. Human ships were destroyed one by one, each loss a blow to the heart of Earth's defense. "We can't keep this up for long," Lieutenant Carter said, his voice thick with frustration and fear. But Williams wasn't one to back down. She had seen humanity at its best, and now was no time to falter. As the battle raged on, she came to a realization. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something much bigger. They were fighting to protect everything they had worked for, everything they believed in. "We have one shot at this," she said. "We can't beat them in a head-to-head fight, but we can outsmart them." She ordered a risky maneuver, one that relied on their knowledge of the Empire's tactics and weaknesses. If they could force the Empire to underestimate them again, they might just stand a chance. The human fleet scattered, using the asteroid field nearby to cover their movements. The Empire's fleet, thinking they had already won, moved forward recklessly. They failed to anticipate humanity's next move. As the human ships emerged from their hiding places, they launched a surprise attack, targeting the Empire's supply lines. It wasn't a perfect strategy, but it worked. For a brief moment, the Empire's fleet was thrown into disarray, and the humans took advantage of the opportunity to inflict some serious damage. It wasn't enough to turn the tide of the battle, but it sent a message to the Empire. Humanity would not go down without a fight. Back on Earth, the people watched in awe as their fleet continued to hold its ground. They knew the situation was dire, but the sight of their ships fighting back against impossible odds sparked something in them. A new sense of purpose, a renewed determination to defend their planet. But the battle was far from over. The Empire would regroup, and they would come again, stronger and more determined than before. Yet, humanity's resolve had been hardened in the fire of conflict. They were no longer just defending their home. They were sending a message to the galaxy. Earth would never surrender. Admiral Williams glanced out at the stars, the battlefield stretching out before her. She knew that this was only the beginning of a long and brutal war, but she also knew one thing for certain. Humanity had only just begun to show the galaxy what it was capable of. And no matter how dark the future seemed, they would never stop fighting. "You said." 7. ChatGPT said. ChatGPT. Part 7. The unstoppable fury of humanity. The battle for Earth had only just begun, but humanity's fury was already beginning to make its mark on the galaxy. Despite the overwhelming might of the Empire's fleet, humanity's defiance burned brighter with every passing moment. The galaxy would soon understand that they had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back. Admiral Williams and her fleet had already suffered heavy losses. Many ships had been destroyed, and the human forces were running low on ammunition and supplies. But the spirit of humanity had not broken. Far from it. As the Empire's ships continued to press forward, the humans refused to retreat. Each loss was met with a new surge of anger and resolve. "Hold steady," Admiral Williams ordered, her voice calm but firm. "We will not let them take our home." The human ships maneuvered through the void of space, dodging the Empire's relentless attacks. Every moment felt like a desperate struggle, but humanity's crews had learned to survive in ways the Empire had not anticipated. They used their knowledge of their own ships and the environment to gain small victories in the chaos. Each strike they landed was a reminder to the Empire. Earth was not an easy conquest. On Earth, the situation was growing even more dire. The global resistance had mobilized, and people from every corner of the planet had come together to fight for their future. The government had set up emergency defense systems, and every nation was contributing soldiers, engineers, and resources to the war effort. The message from Earth was clear. Humanity would not be conquered. In the midst of the chaos, A new hope began to rise. As the human fleet fought to survive, a number of allied ships from neighboring worlds began to emerge from hyperspace. These were not just ships sent by other species who had once shared Earth's struggles. These were allies who had seen the strength and determination of humanity and were ready to stand beside them in battle. The tides of war were shifting. The Empire, despite its vast size and advanced technology, had failed to anticipate the unity humanity had fostered with its allies. What the Empire saw as a simple rebellion was now transforming into a galactic resistance. As Earth's fleet grew stronger, the Empire found itself facing an enemy it could not easily defeat. Back in space, Admiral Williams watched as the enemy's fleet began to falter. The Empire's ships were still numerous, but their morale was beginning to crack. The humans had become the symbol of rebellion, and now they were fighting not just for Earth, but for every world the Empire had conquered. "We can win this," Williams whispered to herself, her eyes narrowing in determination. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy that no one, no matter how powerful, could take everything from humanity without facing the consequences. The battle continued, and with each passing day, the humans fought harder. The Empire had made the fatal mistake of thinking humanity would be an easy conquest, but they had not taken into account the resilience of the human spirit, nor the fierce determination that came with fighting to protect one's home. As the final moments of the battle approached, the Empire's fleet had taken heavy losses. Ships were being disabled, engines were failing, and crew members were being captured or fleeing. It was no longer a question of if humanity would win. It was only a matter of when. Admiral Williams led her fleet in one final assault on the Empire's flagship. With precise coordination and unmatched bravery, the human ships moved in, targeting the heart of the Empire's power. The Empire's ships fought back with everything they had. But the humans were relentless. Their sheer willpower and unity were too much for the Empire to overcome. As the last wave of attacks struck the Empire's flagship, its shields finally failed, and the massive vessel began to break apart. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had defeated the Empire. The galaxy, which had once believed humanity to be a fledgling species, was now forced to reckon with the truth. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. The Empire had been toppled, and humanity had emerged victorious. On Earth, celebrations erupted. The people who had once feared they would be nothing more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy now stood as the victors. The human fleet had not only defended their planet, but they had proven to the galaxy that humanity could rise up and take on the impossible. As Admiral Williams stood on the bridge of the Terra Dominus, watching the remains of the Empire's fleet drift into the darkness of space, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The battle had been long and brutal, but humanity had prevailed. Earth was safe, and the galaxy would never forget the day they challenged humanity. "It's over," Williams said quietly, her voice filled with a mix of relief and awe. The universe had learned a powerful lesson that day. The humans who had been underestimated and dismissed had proven that they were not just survivors. They were conquerors. And in the wake of their victory, the galaxy would never be the same.